Stop with the questions. Celebrate.
And then they say, is Donald Trump an intellectual? Trust me, I'm like a smart person. Yosemite's one of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water.
Mike Lindell's a conspiracy.
Well, you haven't. Person, woman, man, camera, TV. They said nobody gets it in order. It's actually not that easy, but for me it was easy.
Amazing.
He can't sit down. He's got a burning in his butthole. He's got a fire. He's got a flame coming out of his butthole.
Big, massive dumps.
Oh, I have a term for that. I call it corporate communism.
Somebody sent me a thing this morning where they're talking about putting the vaccine into salad dressing.
You see, this is a simple meme that you would find on the internet, but this meme is very real.
You ain't seen nothing yet until you see the flaming butthole.
Putting us on our knees to China.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
Who's got a hammer?
There's insanity in the control room.
This meme is very real. Super real. Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Around the Nation right here, Waldorf Nation. It's Friday. A little technical snafu. We're not immune to
There's insanity in the control room.
it happens from time to time, but we're here. The first stream had an issue. That's all right. We're up and running now. So thank you for joining me here today. Please like and share if you haven't already. Very important to do so. Yes, you know what? Good point. Good point, Madi Darno. Yeah, exactly. That's what everybody was doing, like when the stream went down. Oh no!
Oh no!
Stop it.
So, yeah, no, we're good. We're good now. Let's do it. We got a show today. Some fun stuff, some not so fun stuff. So it's been a little bit of a rough day. We get a little bit of levity here for the first story. Actually, not really. No, there's no levity here. It's all terrible. But nonetheless, we're going to talk about it. We're going to make fun of the news as usual. We got Republicans going communist crazy. That's a fun video. Lauren Boebert's got a hit list. Capitol rioter keeps filming himself doing crime. And then we're going to get into the trial of the McMichaels a little bit. And a really, really important admission. And then, of course, we have another police shooting. Actually, there's new evidence in a police shooting that had happened, I believe, in 2019. The details on that, especially considering what video evidence has surfaced here, yikes. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. You also might have heard the Kyle Rittenhouse thing. You know, that little thing where he just walked from, all charges, acquitted completely. Lovely. Oh, lovely. That's great. As I said on Twitter, I'm not exactly surprised by this development. I kind of saw this coming. That's why I didn't really jump on this too much with the coverage, because I kind of saw where it was heading. So this is unfortunate. And again, it's another example of how this country values gun rights and property rights over the rights of people to live. So, and now, of course, we're going to have to deal with not only right-wingers being unbearable, we're kind of used to that, but now you're probably going to see a lot more right-wingers go to left-wing protests armed, and that's not going to, it's not going to go. It's not going to go well. A good thing you listen to paid DNC operative. Oh, for Christ's sakes. I told you Biden almost Dems are corrupt. Now the progressive agenda is dead and you help. What are you talking about? Like, makes sense. Makes sense how reporting on a situation and by the way, talking about how, did you miss a couple of the streams? I'm thinking you did. Because I have talked about how Build Back Better in its original form is essentially dead, and it's a result of Democrats not fighting for this. I'm saying almost the exact same thing that you did, except for the fact is that you're now calling people who report on these things and saying, oh, no, you helped that. That makes absolutely no sense. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, that doesn't make... I'm sorry, but that doesn't make any sense when you report on something. Jesus Christ. Y'all are like weird sometimes. You know, I don't quite understand. Like the immediate jump to, oh, you're the paid operative, it's CIA, you show shit lib. Like, just shut the fuck up. 2 men died to protect a car lot. Yeah, seriously. All right. Anyway, let's go pick on some right-wingers. Communist Antifa liberals. What we are, apparently. Okay. Hope we got everything working, right? Senate Republicans have lost their minds. Not a big surprise. But I got a new example. One is the recent banking committee hearing, which normally are supposed to be really boring. And they should be boring. It's banking committee. I mean, that's it. But not this one. No. Because Louisiana GOP Senator John Kennedy decided to go full Red Scare and accuse the nominee of being a communist.
You used to be a member of a group called the Young Communist, didn't you?
Senator, are you referring to my membership in the Youth Communist Organization while I was growing up in the Soviet Union?
I don't know. I wanted to ask you that question.
Well, Senator,
There was a group called the Young Communists, and you were a member. Is that right?
I'm not exactly sure which group you're referring to.
Well, the formal name of it is the Leninist Communist Young Union of the Russian Federation, and it's also known as the Leninist Komsomol of the Russian Federation, and it's commonly referred to as the Young Communists. Were you a member?
Senator, I was born and grew up in the Soviet Union.
Yes, ma'am. But were you a member of that organization?
Everybody in that country was a member of the Komsomol, which was the Communist Youth Organization, because
you were a member?
That was a part of normal progress in school.
Have you resigned?
From the youth?
From the Young Communists?
You grow out of it with age, automatically.
Did you send them a letter, though, resigning?
Senator, this was many years ago. As far as I remember how the Soviet Union worked, was at certain age, you automatically stop being a member of that.
Could you look at your records and see if you can find a copy of your...
Senator Kennedy, I don't
I understand that you were born in the Soviet Union and you were forced to join the Young Communist Organization, and that said organization and country no longer exists, but I'm still gonna need you to go through your records and see if you sent an official resignation, you know, just to show that you're no longer a communist. What? Why? Look, she's a U.S. citizen. She's an American. She came to this country, yes, from Russia, from the Soviet Union, which no longer, as I said, exists. And lived here for decades. She served as a special advisor for regulatory policy in the Treasury Department during the Bush administration and teaches law at Cornell. Why are you asking if she's like a member of the Communist Party? It doesn't make any sense. And and even if she was a member of the Communist Party of the United States, which is totally fine, actually, if you're a member of the Communist Party of the United States, that shouldn't bar you from office. That shouldn't bar you, even though she's not. Even though she's not. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to them. Because once, when she was a child, she was forced to join an organization in her native Kazakhstan, and then didn't have to send didn't send a resignation letter. I didn't know you had to do that. That doesn't make any sense. But look, going to her qualifications, by the way, Saul, this is according to Jeremy Kress, an assistant professor of business law at the University of Michigan, quote, Saul is widely regarded as one of the top financial regulatory scholars in the world. Whether you agree with her or disagree with her, you can't have a complete debate about current topics in U.S. banking law and U.S. financial regulation without taking into account what she has written on the topic, meaning she is incredibly knowledgeable. So it seems like, when it comes to handling or heading the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, which is the nomination that she's up for, which oversees the banks, that seems like a good pick to me. You want somebody who is knowledgeable about these things, okay? And look, here's the situation in this country. The United States government right now is too friendly to the banks. Why? Because the banks own a lot of our politicians. They give a lot of bribes, and so they get special deals, special regulation, the chipping away of, for example, weak stuff like Dodd-Frank. And so I think, and I hope, based on what I've seen from her, that she might reverse that a little bit and make it so that the government once again goes back to being a regulatory body towards the banks instead of being a tool for the banks or of the banks to help banks. And so, look, if we get a more stable banking environment, that actually does help everybody, because we no longer will have new, boom or bust cycles. And again, it's good when the economy doesn't crash. Weird how that works, right? Now, here's the other thing. Whenever the banks go crash and boom, what do they ask for? The first thing they do is go to the government and say, give me a handout. Give me. I want all that bailout money, and I need it now. We're too big to fail. You got to give us money. You got to give it now. During COVID, the Fed handed $6 trillion worth of liquidity to the banks. And a lot of these banks, a lot of these companies ended up buying back their own stock and increasing their shareholder price. Their share price, and then increased shareholder dividends. That's what happened. And by the way, that's part of why we have inflation that is so high, with all of that money floated to corporations, all the corporate welfare that was handed out. So, it kind of seems like maybe if we have a more stable banking regulatory structure, we would have less fuckery going on in the banking system, which means a stable banking system. I know that sucks, because then these banks, when they're regulated, they're not going to be able to make these risky bets on things like derivatives and these, the mortgage-backed securities that famously crashed the economy back in 2008. Oh, no. The Republicans will tell you that it's just poor black people buying homes. Yeah, that's a problem. Getting loans. They got too many good loans and they couldn't pay them back, and that's why the economy crashed. Bull fucking shit. Bullshit. No, if you ensure market stability and have banks do less risky ventures for immediate profit, you stabilize the system and you have less incidences of bank failure, which means no bank bailouts. That's it. But again, of course, that's why that would lead to less profits for bank CEOs. And obviously that is why Republicans despise this pick. Weird. Now, look, they've been after her for a while. Turns out Senator Pat Toomey had actually told his colleagues last month in a previous hearing, quote, "I don't think I've ever seen a more radical choice for any regulatory spot in our federal government." Well, he makes it sound like they're like nominating Karl Marx. Come on. Now, Omarova, they said, clearly has an aversion to anything like free market capitalism. You know what she wants to do? Here's her big policy ideas that she had written about. She wants to allow the federal government to offer a bank account to every American through the Federal Reserve who wants one. Wow. You know what that would do? That would actually reduce the number of unbanked persons in this country significantly. In fact, over 6% of U.S. households right now, that's 14 million American adults, are unbanked. This is according to the most recent national survey of the unbanked and underbanked households by the FDIC. According to the same organization, the most popular reason cited by the unbanked for not having a bank account is they don't have enough money to meet the minimum balance requirements. Yes, in order to keep your money in a bank, you have to have money to put in the bank. I know, right? But no, you have to have an arbitrary amount of money in that bank account, or else you're not able to keep it there. And so, look, and when you're unbanked, you actually lose a lot of different opportunities, not only to build a savings, for example, and get interest on that savings, but to do a lot of other different things that are really important. And so, obviously, that hits poor and minority communities the hardest. And so, now, the second most popular reason that the unbanked give for not having a bank account is because, for some odd reason, they don't trust banks. Why does that not surprise me at all? I mean, yeah, after what happened with 2008, it seems like, and of course, banks using depositor money to make risky bets on the stock market, which is essentially taking your money and gambling. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised that a lot of Americans do not trust banks. I have a credit union. I don't even trust banks. So look, her big idea of, hey, letting the, American people, if they want, have an account with the Federal Reserve with no requirements, it seems smart. Seems like it's sensible policy. Now, critics argue, oh, no, that's going to undermine commercial banks because we want to use their money for our risky bets. Of course. And by the way, this Federal Reserve account might actually have better interest rates and might be able to better, offer better interest rates on savings accounts than a lot of commercial banks who generally don't offer that good of interest rates. So, again, seems smart, right? Well, in another article, she also calls for the creation of an agency, not unlike the FDA, that would be charged with approving or rejecting new financial products. Again, that's another decent idea to ensure that risky financial products do not lead to another 2008-like banking crash that, again, destroyed our economy. I don't know. I kind of like this woman. Maybe that's because I'm a communist. I don't know. They don't know they don't know whatever word, like anybody. It feels like, anybody left of Eric Erickson is a communist. Makes no sense to me. But look, again, the Republican Party today, paid for by their donors, by the way, they don't like regulation. They hate anything that may impede future profits of banks or giant corporations, even if that could lead to another gigantic banking disaster, like, again, with the giant bailouts. And, of course, they compare it to communism. Now, I'm going to show you another video here. This is the second part of Omarova and her hearing, and I want to show you how she responds to this. Take a look.
I don't mean any disrespect. I don't know whether to call you professor or comrade.
Senator, I'm not a communist. I do not subscribe to that ideology. I could not choose where I was born. I do not remember joining any Facebook group that subscribes to that ideology. I would never knowingly join any such group. There is no record of me ever actually participating in any Marxist or communist discussions of any kind. My family suffered under the communist regime. I grew up without knowing half of my family. My grandmother herself escaped death twice under the Stalin regime. This is what's seared in my mind. That's who I am. I remember that history. I came to this country. I'm proud to be an American. And this is why I'm here today, Senator. I'm here today because I'm ready for public service.
So, yeah, this is where we're at. Calling somebody like that, who is very likely a lib, maybe not neo-lib, but a lib, maybe with some tendencies towards like, hey, let's do more regulation, right, on the banks. We're talking about it like an Elizabeth Warren type of liberal, right? But no, apparently to the right, she's a communist. She was, but she literally was a communist. Got her. Yeah, because she was born in a country that forces you to do that. Again, the irony, it cannot be overstated here. It's ridiculous, right? But look, I think she handled herself incredibly well. She made Kennedy look like an ass, although that's not difficult. Anytime he opens his mouth, he shows that he's an ass. This is nothing but neo-McCarthyism. And of course, that's what the Republican Party has. That's what they've always had. And it's what they've always gone back to. I mean, again, nearly everything that comes out of Marjorie Taylor Greene's mouth is, oh, the communists, they're coming and they're here. It's the Communist Democrat Party. Oh, the socialism. She doesn't even know what any of that stuff means. But again, none of them do. All they know is communism, socialism, bad. I don't know what it is, but it's bad. I heard it's bad. This is like critical race theory. I don't know what it is, but it sounds bad. They really don't know. So now here's the thing. As I mentioned, I think she'd be a good pick for the office of the comptroller of the currency because, again, that has a regulatory function on the banks. Here in this country, the banks are out of control. So now I want to give you an example here of what somebody who, or I should say what a country did when their banks were out of control and literally caused a crash. Look at Iceland. Okay, Iceland. Now, following the 2008 banking crisis caused by low interest rates, and I'm talking about Iceland specifically, right? So they had a very, very low interest rate. And so they had a lot of foreign, they were chasing after people, foreign investors. And then, of course, doing their own foreign investment. That ended up leading to massive inflation of their money. And then when Lehman and Bear Stearns crashed, well, the whole thing went up in smoke. And that was it. Not only did their entire banking system crash and their economy, their government crashed too. The whole thing fell right over. It was a mess. It was a mess. And that was a result of free market capitalism. Now, how did they fix it? By doing socialism. Iceland literally nationalized their entire banking system. That's it. They said, You're ours now. We're, as in the people. It's the people's bank now. And so now, not only that, but in February 2009, voters elected a social democrat named Johanna Sigurd. I do not do well with these names. Sigurdóttir and her coalition to run the country. So Iceland, what they did is they made some changes. So she barred capital from leaving the country first, raised taxes, but also refused to do austerity. So now a lot of other countries in 2008, 2009, their response was austerity, austerity, austerity. We got to cut spending, and you know, cut spending. Don't raise taxes, just cut spending. That's it. That's it. Austerity, austerity, austerity. Now, she didn't do that. Again, she provided debt relief to mortgage holders and continued social spending. Again, did we bail out in this country, in America, we bail out homeowners? We give them debt relief? No. No, not at all. Millions of people went bankrupt. A lot of homes were foreclosed on, and there was no debt relief, but there were massive bank bailouts. Now, not only that, she made some other changes. She prohibited citizens from buying foreign currency or owning foreign stocks so that people would have to invest in local Icelandic businesses, including real estate and private equity. Okay, and what do you know? What happened? They did better. Their economy got better, and they recovered, and now the banks, of course, have been privatized again. But in that time, it worked. It worked. Their recovery is touted as a miracle. And that's what happened. They got a recession, but its people were made whole. Well, everyone had a recession. It was a global crisis. And their people did way better than our people did. But again, this wasn't a miracle. This was a focus on good policy and bailing out real people instead of private banks and corporations. And that's the whole point, right? And I use the example of Iceland because, again, it worked. The result speaks for itself. There is a place for government regulation. There is a place for action when the markets, as they inevitably do when they're deregulated, fail as a result of their own greed. Now, this is what we want in someone who understands, how regulation can actually save the market from itself, from its own excesses. We want someone who is able to use government intervention. I'm not necessarily sure if she'll do it, but she seems like one of the better candidates. And that's good. That's good. Now, that said, along with the Republicans, you also have corporate Democrats that are funded by big banks that are asking some questions. Democrats like Jon Tester. So now Jon Tester is a bitch for the banking sector. And he's like, I don't know about her. He said some of Dr. Omarova's past statements about the role of government in the financial system, meaning, of course, having government have a substantial role in the financial system, raise real concerns about her ability to impartially serve at the office of the comptroller of the currency. And I'm looking forward to discussing them with her at her hearing. So that's Senator Jon Tester. That said, Senator Brown, that's Sherrod Brown, he is optimistic that she'll get bipartisan support. But from what I've seen, I don't really buy that. I don't think that she's going to get a lot of support from Republicans, especially the ones who are asking her about being a communist. We'll have to see, though. We'll have to see. All right. Realan N says, we're nationalizing the show. This is our show now. Wasn't it always our show? Comrade? Nemo Nickel says, Obama and corporate Dems failed us on banking reform in 2009, should have passed Representative Brad Miller's Anti-Predatory Lending Act of 2009. Nemo Nichols, you're absolutely right. Obama and the Democrats did hugely fail, but you have to look, and to understand the failure, where this comes from, you have to look at who funded Obama's campaign. The banks. I mean, if you're funded by the banks, you're going to serve the banks. You can't serve two masters. And that's the problem with money in politics and why we have to get money out of politics. Big banks, absolutely. The big banks. Occam's Taser, thank you for giving out one tier 1 community sub. Appreciate that. Scott Bloom 85, thank you, or some S Bloom 85, resubbing. Thank you for 1 month at tier 1, and happy year-versary. Biden shouldn't have passed the 2005 banking bill, which gutted the middle class in the recession. There's a lot of things that Biden shouldn't have done. But once again, Biden and the Democrats, they serve the banks. Okay. Jesus. We're a half hour in, and that was just the first story. Christ. All right. Let's move on. Lauren Boebert is making a list, and she's probably checking it twice. Now, that list is not who's naughty or nice. No, it's a list of Democrats she plans to punish if Republicans retake the House. Now, as the House had debated the censure of Paul Gosar on Wednesday for tweeting out some anime videos that depicted the killing of his coworkers, Lauren Boebert attacked her colleague, Ilhan Omar, as a member of the Jihad Squad, and also said that Eric Swalwell was, quote-unquote, sleeping with the enemy. All right, that's super weird. Now, Ilhan Omar, of course, responded, and I like this. She said, "I am grateful I was raised to be a decent human and not a deprived person who shamefully defecates and defiles the House of Representatives." Oh, I love it. Nice little dig at the Capitol rioters there. Love it when Ilham slaps back. Now, later on, Boebert went on Fox News to talk about this and revealed her plan for punishing Democrats for the censure of Paul Gosar. Take a look.
So a couple hundred years ago, you would have had a duel with Congresswoman Omar. When you guys see each other in the halls, is it friendly? Do you look each other in the eyes? What's going on?
So unfortunately, most of the Democrats vote by proxy the majority of their time, so we don't see a whole lot of them. Maybe when the Republicans are back in the majority, we'll actually have regular order and we'll actually be able to debate our colleagues on issues. But right now, they're busy removing Republicans from committees, not fixing all the crises that we're seeing all throughout our country, the invasion of our southern border, the energy crisis, the supply chain crisis, our children being forced to wear masks in school, the medical mandates that are taking place. Democrats have now removed 4 Republicans from committees. But look, what goes around comes around.
Yeah.
I started making a list, and Ilhan and Eric are at the top. Maxine Waters, Cori Bush, and a couple other Democrats like Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger are on there too. So if you have any names that you'd like to add, Jesse, let me know.
Yeah, let me just add some names. Yeah, I know. I know. Some of you are saying, well, how is this news? Well, look, I'm going to tell you how this is important because it's pretty gross. See, you have Republicans that are out there literally making lists of people that they do not like, even pointing out Liz Cheney, which I think is still a horrible person, and Adam Kinzinger, and saying, oh, they're Democrats. And no, they're not. They're actually literal Republicans. Well, okay, to be fair, Liz Cheney literally got kicked out of her own party because it's now the party of Trump. Still, what they're doing is that they're planning on doing retaliation. So this is a retaliation list for people they don't agree with politically and do not like. So that's a huge problem. Okay, but here's the thing, right? So now Gosar was stripped of his committee. That's true. They're very, very triggered. They're very mad about this. Okay, and so Gosar, look, he'd been removed for posting violent imagery about AOC and Joe Biden, a depiction of killing them. In a normal workplace, something like that would not fly. Okay, that would get you in trouble, possibly fired. That's why it's an issue. Have any Democrats done anything like that in Congress? No. The last person who identifies as liberal to do anything like that was Kathy Griffin with the Trump head covered in ketchup. And well, what happened there? Her career got fucking obliterated. Both liberals and conservatives were like, what are you doing? That's dumb. That's terrible. Why would you do something like that? And so, yeah, I'm not a fan of Kathy Griffin, but her career did get obliterated, just absolutely destroyed. She was savaged. She lost her job at CNN, etc. There were consequences for that. But Paul Gosar also does something similar, and guess what? Consequences. There were consequences. But no. Republicans say consequences. No, we're Republicans. We don't have consequences. And so, again, Democrats are not doing things like that. And that's why they're not getting kicked off committees. But now, when Republicans take over, they're out there saying, no, we're going to kick people off committees because we don't like them. Because it's retaliation because they did it to us. Now, here's the thing. You should only get kicked off your committees for doing heinous things. Now, look who else was kicked off. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Why? Because she did the same thing as Paul Gosar, or something similar. She advocated for literal violence against Democrats. And not only that, but she spread insane anti-Semitic conspiracy theories about Jewish laser beams and all that. Now, you also had Steve King. He was stripped of his committee assignments, right? What did he do? Well, he, for years, got away with using white nationalist rhetoric. Even meeting with the Wildgeerters or whatever weirdo guy in Europe, who was a literal white nationalist. He even said things like, oh, we can't, repopulate our population with somebody else's babies. White babies only. And that's what it is. And so, yes, he got kicked off for being a literal white nationalist. But who else? Who else? Now, again, it's very rare to get kicked off committee assignments. You've got to be a really heinous person. Okay? So, now, there were Democrats that were kicked off, right? One example was Jim Traficant. What did he do? A Democrat, okay? Well, he literally voted for a pedophile to be Speaker of the House. I'm not kidding. Republican Dennis Hastert. He supported Republican Dennis Hastert, again, pedophile, for Speaker of the House. And by the way, later on, Traficant was indicted for bribery, racketeering, and tax evasion. So, literal corrupt Democrat. Good. I didn't have any problem with them kicking him off his committee assignments. Good. They should have. All right, there's more. Another Democrat from Louisiana, 2006, Representative William Jefferson. He was facing a corruption investigation in which FBI agents had found $90,000 in bribe money in his freezer. Wow. After winning re-election in a runoff, he was kicked off the powerful House Ways and Means Committee and then convicted in 2009 on 11 counts of corruption. 2007, Larry Craig, this is the Republican now, in Idaho, was caught in a sting investigation involving sexual activity in a bathroom at a Minneapolis airport. He pleaded guilty to disorderly conduct and agreed to step down from his top GOP posts on Veterans Affairs committees and 2 subcommittees in response to pressure from leadership. Although he retained membership in those committees and said, I'm sorry, I express some regret for my guilty plea, but I'm still going to be members of these committees. Yeah. He did not seek re-election in 2008. I wonder why. So now there's more. A couple more Republicans here. In more recent cases, in 2018, Chris Collins of New York and Duncan Hunter, California, were both kicked off committees due to their indictments. Collins for insider trading and Hunter for misuse of campaign funds. Both were ultimately convicted, but then later on pardoned by Trump. Yes, Larry Craig is a wide stance guy, by the way. So understand, to get kicked off your committees, you got to do some pretty heinous stuff. I would think that using violent imagery against your political opponents for disagreements, well, to your coworkers, by the way, these are people you're supposed to work with and come together to govern with, and you're doing this? You're posting violent images? No, that's a serious problem. That is a serious problem. And what it does is that it feeds into stochastic terrorism and political violence. That said, I have one more video here. This is Jesse Waters asking what Lauren Boebert plans to do with this list.
It's a certainty that you're going to retake the House and you're going to be in charge of the committees and you guys can run the show. Are you going to be targeting Ilhan Omar over any of her history, any of her recent history? What sorts of things could you do?
So that is exactly what we are going to do. When we have the majority, it is going to be all about accountability and investigations. I will be on the Oversight Committee, and I am submitting subpoenas for the people who are in this administration and making them answer to their failures. And I am absolutely calling out the members of Congress who serve in the House and do the things that they do. I'm absolutely going to hold them accountable. And what goes around, like I said, will come around.
Get ready for Mountain of Bullshit. Oh, you thought Benghazi was bad. Oh, just wait. Wait till you see what Lauren Boebert is cooking up. And again, the sad thing is, they are very likely to take the House now. The recent congressional maps made from redistricting are brutal, combined with Biden's low approval rating. Let me give you some details about that. According to The Hill, the decennial census will shift seats away from California, Illinois, Michigan, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia, and toward Colorado, Florida, Montana, North Carolina, Oregon, and Texas. States that voted for Trump will end up netting about 3 seats. In addition, the Cook Political Report thinks that Republicans will gain 3 to 4 seats simply by having more control of drawing new congressional districts. Gerrymandering, congressional districts, the census, turnout, all of that is very important. And look, I've been watching the polls for Biden. Disastrous. Not good. Not good at all. Again, you look at the polls, very unpopular. A lot of people are blaming him for inflation. I don't actually think that's his fault. Because you have factual information here about things like supply chain issues, again, as a result of the coronavirus pandemic, et cetera, as well as labor issues with corporations not paying people enough to do the jobs, lots of people that have died or no longer work in those jobs or have moved on to other jobs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you have all these different factors that have led into inflation and the economic issues facing this country right now. And look, a lot of people blame Biden for it. Gas prices, again, OPEC Plus is to blame for that, for withholding their production or keeping production low in order to squeeze or extract more money. We could actually get away from that if we were to get away from fossil fuels, but we're not going to because Joe Biden, and this is where it is his fault, said nothing will fundamentally change. And he's done, again, also his fault, other than, I think, the coronavirus stimulus package, which was chock full of corporate welfare, corporate handouts, not a lot for the American people. A lot of people have not felt their material conditions improve under Joe Biden. And so the president's approval rating, it's going to play into the turnout during the midterms, and it's going to be an absolute disaster. So, and add on to that, if Republicans win the House, get ready for a nonstop cavalcade of bullshit political retribution towards the Democrats for simply existing. That's really all it takes now. You don't have to be, corrupt or anything like that. No, you just have to be a Democrat, and that's it. That's enough for Lauren Boebert. Disgusting. Okay. All right, we'll try to get through these next two stories real fast. Capitol rioter and white supremacist streamer known as Baked Alaska has been arrested again. The guy cannot stop getting himself into trouble. At this point, you realize that he's doing this on purpose. Because he's filming himself over and over and over doing crime. And not just any crime, by the way, hate crime. He recently got caught defacing a Hanukkah display. Because let's just throw in some anti-Semitism while we're at it, right? I mean, why not? Now, the Daily Beast reports that Antim Giannett, that's his name, or just call him Tim Giannett, I guess, or Baked Alaska, whatever, was charged with a misdemeanor counts of criminal damage and attempted criminal damage for allegedly defacing the Hanukkah exhibit at the Arizona State Capitol on December 19, 2020, to which he recorded on live stream, reported the Daily Beast. No more Happy Hanukkah, only Merry Christmas, Giannett says in the video, which was viewed by the Phoenix New Times before it was deleted. Giannett has promoted anti-Semitism in the past, publishing a gas chamber meme on social media and hanging out with Holocaust deniers like Nick Fuentes and the Groyper Army. What a weird name, Groyper. It just sounds, that sounds like, it sounds gross. It sounds gross. Like, ugh. Groyper. Who wants to identify as a Groyper? Sounds like Groper, but just worse. Just worse. But anyway, this is not the first time this man has filmed himself doing crime. Giannett, who took part in the 2017 Unite the Right March in Charlottesville, was arrested on January 15th and charged with illegally entering the restricted building and a violent entry and disorderly conduct on Capitol grounds during the January 6th insurrection. His live stream video from the event was cited extensively in the indictment against him. He was also found guilty earlier this month for pepper spraying a security guard that tried to throw him out of an Arizona bar. Footage from, again, another live stream, proof, and it was used as evidence against him. Again, you'd think he'd learn, but the whole point is not to learn. The whole point is to do this on purpose so that he can make money. Again, here's the thing. So he gets a slap in the wrist every time he does something like this, okay? And since he gets no real consequences, he can do this. And by the way, filming himself doing these things gets him a lot of clout online with the chuds. He gets clout, he gets clicks, he gets views. And that's what he does. That's his job now, is to go around being a professional troll, traveling the country, live streaming himself, confronting other people, rando strangers in public places. And, well, his fans love it. They eat it up, and they give him lots and lots of money as a result. That's what they do. And that's what happens. According to the Daily Beast, these live stream exchanges often turn violent, with Giannett once again deploying pepper spray against innocent people who have done nothing. Because of course, right? You know, it's kind of funny with all the talk about how violent in the left, or how violent the left and the Antifa are. How come nobody on the right is denouncing this guy? Not that I've seen. Not that I've seen, right? I mean, where is that? I mean, if a member of Black Lives Matter was going around destroying Christian crosses, right? The left and right would be furious. You don't do that. That's not cool. The denouncements from the Democrats in Congress would be fast and furious. Not only that, but knowing how the Democrats are, they would completely disavow BLM. No, Black Lives Matter. No, they don't. Republicans, I agree with you. Because one person did something that was not good. But for the far right, understand that this is totally fine for them. It is not just fine. It is rewarded. It's rewarded. And so, judging by the way that this country is heading, and that it is in fact already there, I'm not going to be surprised if Jeanette gets little to no jail time, and maybe in the future ends up down the line being the next Republican congressman. Hey, you know, we said, oh, how could somebody like Donald Trump get elected? No, how is somebody like Marjorie Taylor Greene in office? Well, next it's going to be, how did Baked Alaska get into office? Madness. We live in a country of madness. Okay. Let's get to some good news. All right. An update in the trial against Greg and Travis McMichael, the men who shot and killed jogger Ahmaud Arbery. During cross-examination on Friday, Travis McMichael, the man who ended up firing the fatal shotgun blasts, had admitted that Arbery was not a threat to him at all when he had fired the weapon. Prosecutor Linda Danikowski repeatedly asked McMichael, 35, whether Arbery had yelled at him or brandished a weapon before the deadly encounter on February 23, 2020. No, McMichael testified in Glynn County Superior Court. Quote, he was just running. So he wasn't a threat, didn't have a weapon, he was running, and the McMichaels decided to jump in their truck, take after him with guns, as well as somebody else who joined him. You have, I can't believe I forgot his name, but Brian, sorry. You had Mr. Brian there who chased after him as well, grabbing his camera, filming this, using his truck to hit Arbery and box him in, run him off the roads. The McMichaels could corner him like a rat. So now here's the thing, okay? There was no reason for Travis McMichael to actually aim his, aim his weapon at Arbery or shoot him. There was none, but he did. He did. In fact, Danikowski had said, you know, that no one has to talk to anyone they don't want to talk to, right? So they were, I don't know what they were trying to get him to say, but they had him cornered. And this guy, you know, Travis McMichael, had aimed a shotgun at Arbery, even though Arbery had done absolutely nothing. Nothing. I mean, again, nothing to provoke the McMichaels, just running down the road, just jogging. And that was enough, being a black man on the run from nobody. Just going out for a jog. It's disgusting. But now, he told jurors during cross-examination that he had flashed a shotgun in order to deter Arbery from charging at him. Oh, he's going to charge at me if I don't aim my gun at him. Well, now, when I think about that, if somebody aims a gun at you, well, I was taught, don't aim a gun at anything you are not going to shoot. So to me, that is a threatening gesture. That means you're going to shoot me. That means you're going to take my life. And so if you're in that situation and you've got fight or flight going on, what are you going to do? Well, he already tried to flee. And then they chased him down and cornered him. As I said, this is from one of the McMichaels saying, we cornered him like a rat. We cornered him like a rat. He had nowhere to go, facing two guys with guns. What are you going to do if you think you're going to die? You're going to defend yourself, right? Especially if there's somebody with a gun that is pointing it at you, that is threatening you. The only option left to Ahmaud Arbery was to fight. That was it. That was it. And now, the thing, of course, that doomed Arbery is he didn't have a gun. They had guns, he didn't. And so he attempted to defend himself without a gun and failed. It didn't work. The McMichaels cannot claim to have been they can't claim self-defense. They were the aggressors. They chased him. They chased him around. They cornered him, pointed weapons at him. All Arbery did was try to fight back, and that was it. Now there's more. William Roddy Bryan. So now the news on him, and this is actually pretty good for the case against the McMichaels. He had asked prosecutors for a plea agreement. Oh, can I do a plea? Please, can I enter a plea? Can I enter a plea? Now remember, he had boxed Arbery in with his truck and then filmed the encounter. You know what the response was for that? Prosecution said, hell no. No. Lawyers for one of the defendants of the trial of killing of Ahmaud Arbery asked prosecutors, according to CBS News, for a plea deal. Arbery family attorney Lee Merritt told CBS. Merritt said the prosecution turned it down flat out. Reported Ben Mitchell, Rodney Hawkins, and Omar Villafranca. Merritt told CBS News that he believes the request means that Bryan is concerned about the strength of the state's case. Bryan is on trial alongside Travis McMichael, and his father, Gregory. He's as culpable as the other two, Merritt said of Bryan. Yeah, because he put Arbery in that situation where he was then unable to escape. And then he was stuck in that confrontation in which he died. So now, experts have also suggested the prosecution had succeeded in throwing some serious doubt on the defenses of the three, who have claimed that they were simply trying to make a citizen's arrest and protect their neighborhood after recent crimes. Now, this is a good example of what happens when you get your guns and you play vigilante. That's it. People die. And people die ridiculously over property. Now, I get it, right? Property can be replaced, though. People cannot. Arbery was not doing anything wrong. He was jogging. He did check out a house being built. That, again, that's not a crime. Plenty of other people have checked out that house. Oh, but he was doing something nefarious in that house. Really? Like what? Like what? Was he stealing anything? Did he have anything in his pockets? No. Was there any evidence that he was stealing anything? No. He was checking it out. That was it. And if he was stealing something, that's not justification for killing someone. No, what happened is that they saw a black man who was running around and decided, we're going to go hunting. We're going to grab our guns and we're going to hunt this man. That's it. Now, again, they're like, well, it's because there was crime in the area and we think that he matched a description of a person we saw on camera that was stealing stuff. Now, of course, I've noticed a lot where white people tend to think all black people look the same. Now, I'm not saying all white people do that, obviously. What I am saying is that white people who do not spend any time around black people do have a tendency to think that they all look the same. So, there's that little bit of racism there. And the assumption that, well, if it's a black guy, he must be up to no good. And that's what happened. And so now, as far as stealing, like I've had stuff stolen from me before. That sucks. But what do you do? Well, you call the police. you leave it to the job of the police to find the people who are stealing the things and to arrest the people stealing the things. That's what you do. It's not your job to go out and hunt yourself. Because again, what if you have the wrong person? What if you have somebody who is armed? What if they shoot back? Then you've got an entire situation there. You can lose your life. You can lose your life. This entire thing is out of control. Out of control. The racism and vigilantism in this country, and by the way, the fact that we're washing the guns all at the same time, with so many people having distrust in our institutions and the rule of law, it's a toxic soup. And you only have to look, of course, what had happened in the Rittenhouse trial to see that we're living in a toxic soup. But there is a silver lining here that shows that we might get some justice for Ahmaud Arbery. The fact is, we had a plea deal. We had a plea deal. And that plea deal was rejected because the case is so strong against at least William Roddy Bryan. I can only wonder how strong the case is against the McMichaels. So far, looking pretty good. We may yet, and of course, it's not set in stone. We still have to have, of course, the jury to decide. But seeing how the case is and how strong the prosecution is, well, I mean, you know, it's looking we may yet have some justice for Ahmaud Arbery, and that is something that is good. Ravaging Wolverine says, pretending to be cops can have some unfortunate consequences. That's why law enforcement best left to professionals such as they are. Yeah, and the other thing too is like there's a lot of disinformation, like, oh, we all want to completely abolish the police. No, defund the police is not the same as abolish the police. Actually, defund the police just means we remove the excess jobs that we are forcing police to do, like deal with people who are mental illness or do wellness checks on people, stuff like that. And of course, remove the militarization, because they're not supposed to be an occupying force. They're supposed to be a force that is to protect neighborhoods and not occupy them. That's why defund the police. And I know Democrats and Republicans, they both despise that because they don't know what it is. They don't know what it means. They think defund the police says take away all police or take away their ability to do the job. Actually, we want them to focus. We want them to narrow their job at actually stopping and solving crime instead of doing all the extra stuff that they seem to suck at. And stop giving them military equipment. I thought I mentioned that. But yes. All right. Anyway, that's it. There's no way I'm going to get through that story in any good amount of time. So why don't I leave it to Monday? We'll do that. Already super long show. I personally am for getting rid of the police altogether and starting with something new. The current one is corrupt to its core. Well, there's certainly a good argument for that as well. But optically, I mean, you got to figure out a way to allow the normies to accept that. You got to make a good case for the normies, because ultimately they get a lot of misconceptions about what we're actually trying to do. Democrats suck at messaging. They're utter trash and assume people do good research, which people do not. People do not do good research. So, by the way, I have some super chats that I want. A lot of you have been incredibly kind during this stream, so I'm going to go and take a look at those. Again, super kind from all of you. Let me pull that up and give some thanks. Before you all go, let's see. Let's start with Long Sauce Dragon. Thank you very much for the very kind $20. I appreciate that. Dango Bango, thank you for replace Garland BC Rittenhouse Judge Jury. Tyler Hackner says violence is normalized, and that's horrifying. Agreed. Mark's Biz 33 says, check local journalist Kylie Clark's reaction on live TV. Should have gone viral. I will take a look at that. Dr. Zippy McScoots, again, thank you for the very kind $20. Saying if Republicans are going to kick out representatives out of sheer revenge, then the states they represent should stop paying all taxes to the federal government. No taxation without representation. Interesting. Of course, they will not go for that one, but it's an interesting idea. And thank you so much, Gabby Massis, for the very, very kind and incredibly generous $50. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much. That continues to allow us to do the show. Your support, really, really, really appreciate it. All right. Oof. Hey, thank you all for being here, actually. I really, really do appreciate it. Now, normie under settler colonialism. So here's the thing, right? We have to, and it's what I've been saying all along, we got to radicalize the normies. But you have to do it in a way, normal people scare very easily. So, trial for Ahmaud Arbery looks like they're getting off live right now. They're trying to reduce the charges, says Silverthorne Goodtree. Again, we're going to have to see, but I would be very surprised if, in that case, the McMichaels would walk. I mean, this really seems like a clear case of not self-defense. But again, if you don't have any faith in the system, and why would a lot of people, especially black people, I can see how you could think that anything could happen. But I mean, I actually have a pretty decently good feeling about the Arbery, trial. I don't think the McMichaels are going to get away with it. I definitely think there are going to be some charges there. But you know, I'm not a law person, so if I'm wrong, I'll take the L. But I really hope that we get some justice. Okay. All right. Let's raid. We're going to raid into... We have... Old. Figure it out. Yeah, we'll raid into Galaxy Brain. So, all right. Thank you all. Love you, and remember, change begins with you. We'll see you all Monday. Have a good weekend.
Wet ass keyword.
Dumps. Big, massive dumps.
Amazing. Please clap.
They're kicking me out the door. They're kicking me out the door.